Welcome back to Reliving Retro. Today we have a very special guest on. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Go ahead, man.
Hey guys. Well, very special. You're uplifting me there. My name is Mike. Most would know me from a couple things. I write for Pat Contry, Pat the NES Punk. For those that don't know him, he put out a Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you got a lot of my writing in that book. I read about 80 reviews in that one, and right now we're getting ready to. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but the N64 book my part is finished. I'm doing a little bit of editing here and there. Yeah, so keep your eye out for that. It should be. I mean, I don't know a date yet. I would think it would be like hopefully by this time next year, but
So is he planning to go through the whole, like, he's going to do like GameCube and Wii eventually also?
I don't know, because
I know he mostly deals with like retro stuff. That's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Before the N64 book was planned, the plan was Game Boy.
Oh, that'd be cool too, actually.
Yeah, but there's just so many titles in the library. So many. Yeah, so but yeah, I'm not sure honestly what the plan is after N64. I hope he would want to go backwards and do Sega Genesis, because that's what I would be awesome with. But yeah, that would be a huge undertaking as well.
Yeah, he's real known for like the NES stuff. Did you help him write the NES book as well?
No. I was introduced to him right after that book came out. Cool. I write for a website called Hey Poor Player, and I was sent to interview him at Too Many Games in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And after we got to talking, one thing led to another, and I started writing for him, and that's when the book
that's awesome
deal happened.
So very cool. Quick question. We don't normally ask our guests this, because normally our guests don't write giant books about Super Nintendo games. But what would you say like some of your favorites to write about were in that book?
Definitely Demon's Crest.
Love that game.
That was one of my favorite ones. And I had a lot of experience with that before I started playing it for the review, so that one was really easy for me. Other than that, I think America's Tale 5 Goes West. I know that's like an off-the-cuff game, but that was the first one I started, and awesome. I fell in love with it. It was a really good platformer.
Did you? How did you tackle that? You said you had 80 games to write. Did you do it alphabetically, or did you do it like? Because I'm assuming you probably don't own every single game that you reviewed, correct?
No, I don't. But I have an EverDrive, so I would just pop that in the console. But in order to get screenshots for every game, we mainly used emulators. Mm-hmm. But with the N64, that was a whole other issue, because there's not really a good N64 emulator out there. Like, they're still all very wishy-washy.
Yeah, not all of them are great.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. So what I did with that was I would play the game on my console, which is right behind my computer here, play through it there, and then I would go through on the emulator and use whatever codes I could to get to certain levels and get whatever screenshots I wanted.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you say like was one of the worst games you had to review for the Super Nintendo?
The Super Nintendo, I have to look up what the name of it is, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But there's one where the Hanna-Barbera characters are like in like a go-kart racing type game, or it's not even go-kart racing. They're actually on foot and are just running around. And it's like the most
not Wacky Races.
Finish. What is it?
Wacky Races. That was the TV show where the Hanna-Barbera characters
that may have been what it was. I'd have to look it up in the book, but it was really bad. And I even messaged Pat. I was like, dude, I can't review this because it's like an unfinished game. And he was like, well, it's, it's an official license release, so it was finished. And I was like, all right. So that one I had plenty of rewrites and edits, because how do you review an unfinished game?
Right. I mean, I want to read your review on that one, because I wonder, like, did you hold anything back, or did you say how terrible it was? I haven't read that.
Oh, no, I said how terrible it was. I think that was the lowest review score I gave, and it was like a 0.5 star. But
right.
Yeah, I basically said it was unfinished. Like, I think I even mentioned in the reflection section how even the menu system is not done yet.
Jeez.
Well, not done. It never will be done. But Yeah.
I mean, they could still go back to it eventually.
Yeah,
You
I
never
mean,
know.
that's what it's been happening. So, I mean, people are taking bad games and fixing them. So,
Can't rule it out.
yeah.
Right. Oh, and I gotta say, so what's your Twitter handle so everybody knows?
Oh, Twitter, at Very Evil Ash, and you could also just look up Mike Vito, the quick retro game clip guy.
So he makes really funny like edits to games. He made a really funny
thanks.
Silent Hill one I thought was hilarious, where the radio started playing and he started playing Kid Rock.
Kid Rock,
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
That
I
was
did
really
another
funny.
one today. Actually, I posted it. It's the phone call scene. I had a Beavis and Butthead talking back to him, and
Oh,
it worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
I'll
I gotta
send
go
it to
check
you.
that one out. That's so funny.
Awesome.
All right, so a couple of getting to know yous. We already got to know you a little bit, but what was your introduction to gaming? Like, what consoles did you start on? That kind of thing. Maybe how did you get them?
My first introduction to gaming, I remember my parents brought me to my grandparents' house for just like a family visit, and they broke out the Atari 2600. And the first game I remember playing was a game called Night Driver, where you used a paddle controller, and you're basically just a cross, and there's little green trees on each side of the screen, and you just got to weave in between them. But
That's cool.
yeah, so they gave me that console actually, so that was my first console, and then I got the Nintendo NES when that came out, and that's pretty much where my passion started, I guess.
Cool.
Roughly how old were you when you got the Atari?
It would probably be 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
Right now I'm 43. So it was a while ago.
No, that's awesome though. I played a little bit of Atari when I was a kid. Not a ton. It was mostly at my friend's house. I never had one. My parents had an Intellivision before like I was ever born, and then they had an NES before I was born. But like really, the first thing I started playing was the Super Nintendo. That's why like when the Super Nintendo book came out, I had to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. I didn't have a Super Nintendo growing up. When my wife and I got married 20 years ago, I kind of like inherited hers. So that's where I started my Super Nintendo gaming. It was like way later in life.
That's awesome though.
But
it's cool because
yeah,
you get to
that's a great
experience
console to start with.
Yeah, it's cool because you get to experience that great console like when you're older and have like a better kind of understanding of games.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I definitely took advantage of it when I got it. I was like, I'm taking this from you. She's like,
you were
okay,
you were a
whatever.
Genesis kid?
Yeah. I got after my NES, I got a Sega Genesis, and I got that in NHL PA. Those two games. That game and the console 1 year I got for Christmas, and just never really turned back. I even got the Sega CD, the 32X. I blew all my money and wasted it on that stuff. So.
Oh wow, that's awesome though.
Yeah,
it's cool because I mean I didn't know a lot of people with all those add-ons and stuff.
Yeah, I was one of the few in the neighborhood, and I still got them. I never got rid of them. They're behind me on the shelf still.
Does the Sega CD still work?
Yeah, it does.
Nice. I know
I had to
that
get a laser
really...
replacement in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know that one in particular is really finicky.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the laser in that thing's terrible.
What would you say are like your favorite types of games to play, like favorite genres?
I like survival horror. That's probably my favorite. If I'm talking pre 32-bit, I like the platformers, and mainly just because they're really quick and easy to get into and finish. Like on like I don't play RPGs very much anymore. Unless it's like Persona game comes out and I'm able to sit down and dedicate 100 hours to it. But
yeah,
mostly it's just retro platformers, newer consoles, mostly like the survival horror stuff or shooters.
So do you play like current gen? You have like a PS5 or whatever?
Yeah, I have a PS5 and I have the Xbox Series S and X. I have the S upstairs.
Cool.
The most current stuff I got into was Elden Ring. I probably dropped 120 hours in that and started a new game, but then halfway through that I kind of just fell off because I'm in school now, so it kind of took over.
Yeah, Yaiser, big fan of Elden Ring.
Yeah, probably got 100 hours.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet.
Me too. Oh, you haven't? Oh, yeah, you got to get it. Well, if you're a Souls fan, if you're not a Souls fan, that it's not going to change your mind.
Yeah. Well, it's not that I'm not a Souls fan. I've just never played any of the games.
Oh man.
None of them.
Oh, okay.
Which
Yeah,
is kind of
I mean,
wild. I understand that, but it's fine.
no, I get it. I mean, it's like a daunting task to start those, but once you do, and if you're into that kind of like medieval type stuff, you'll fall in love really quick.
No turning back.
Whenever I see gameplay
no.
of it, I really like. I'm like, this game looks amazing. It really does. It looks fun. It looks amazing. But to me, like, it always just looks like something I'm not ready to take on yet. So I kind of that's why I kind of just haven't yet, I guess. But
it's a lot. It could be a lot at first.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that. All right, so I guess getting into Silent Hill, right? This game was released in 1999 by Konami, and it had a pretty solid reception. I believe it sold almost 2 million copies worldwide. It sold almost 1 million copies in the US, which was pretty unheard of for a survival horror game at the time. Its cost currently is about $100 complete with the case, manual, disc. And so that's what we played this week. Mike, did you have any prior experience with this game before you played it this week?
I picked this game up on its launch day. I don't remember when. I mean, I looked at the date before we started, so I guess it was February when I got it. But I specifically remember going to the mall that day after I got off of work. I was working at Best Buy at the time, and we didn't get the game in that day for some reason. So I had to go to Electronics Boutique and picked it up and played it for like probably a good 6 hours that night. Even though it usually takes 5 hours to beat it, but I didn't get anywhere close to beating it that night.
Yaiser, did you have any prior experience with this game?
No, I've never played this game before this week.
Nice. You had a PS1, right? Growing up?
Yeah, we had a PS1.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I had a PS1, and my mom used to do this thing where it's not that she wouldn't buy me the games that I asked for, but a lot of times for like my birthday or Christmas or whatever, like she would buy me games that I had never asked for, which is totally fine. That's how I've found some of the best games that I've ever played. Like Earthbound was one of those games that she just randomly bought for me when I was a kid.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so Silent Hill is one of those games. And apparently, she just looked at the cover and she's like, "This looks like a game for my 9-year-old." And so that was a game that I played when I was 9, and it was pretty fun. Scared the crap out of me as a child, also as a grown man. This week,
scared the crap out of me as a 33-year-old man.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So let's go around, I guess. Yaiser, did you beat this game?
I didn't beat the game. I think pretty close, but needed probably another hour.
So where did you leave off again?
Right at the lighthouse, right at the top of the lighthouse.
Okay. Yeah, I think you had about an hour or so left because you still had to go through all of Nowhere is what it's called in the game. Mike, where did you leave off?
I left off. I did beat this when I first got it way back when, but for this playthrough, I stopped around not too far after the introduction of the hospital, so it's like a little bit past the halfway point. Yeah,
that's cool. Probably one of my favorite parts of the game is the school, even though it takes so long to get through at times.
Yeah.
I played this game for about 7.5 hours. Game time, my save time or whatever was 5.5 hours, and I did beat the game. There was a point where I struggled mightily in that fight against Sybil, and on the what was it on the carousel? Yeah.
I didn't get that far.
Yeah, I struggled there pretty badly. It took me about an hour to figure out how to beat that one. So I will have a playthrough video up. I'm not sure if it's going to be up before this video or right after. It's going to be up right around the time this video comes out. So if you're seeing this, just look on the channel. It'll probably be up. But yeah, so like I said, I beat it. There are 5 endings to this. Mike, do you remember when you beat it what ending you got?
I originally got the bad ending the first time I beat it, and that's just because it took me so long because I didn't know what I was doing, and at that time the game was fairly new. I didn't have a guide or anything like that.
Right, of course.
But I can't remember how long that took me. But yeah, I definitely got the bad ending.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this story is pretty insane.
A little bit.
I guess, Mike, feel free to correct me here, but I'm gonna kind of try to summarize as much of the story up as possible, and then we'll get into rating the story. So,
okay, I'll see if I can, but yeah, it even to this day, it's still kind of up in the air to me.
Yeah, right. So so basically it starts out, and in the manual it tells you a little bit about the characters, not a lot. There's not really a whole lot of prologue here in the manual. It really just says that, Harry wants to take his daughter to on a vacation, and his daughter Cheryl wants to go to like Silent Hill. So apparently,
does it even say that she's adopted?
No, I don't think it does.
If the manual says that or not. Yeah,
I don't think it does say that. But so like the opening cutscene is basically like Harry stumbles into Silent Hill after a car accident looking for his 7-year-old daughter, Cheryl. And this kind of, for some reason, I don't know, it kind of hit me a little bit because Harry in the game is 32. I'm 32. I have a 7-year-old daughter. He has a 7-year-old daughter. I did not like the similarities there. So Harry gets clues throughout the game that kind of point to where Cheryl is, either physical clues like a note, or just kind of seeing the figure of Cheryl and kind of trying to follow her either into like an alleyway, a school, a hospital, etc. In the hospital, you're kind of introduced to 2 new characters, Dr. Kaufman and Lisa, and neither have any idea what's going on, right? Or at least that's what they say. Right. After you've been through a few of these places, it's obvious that it's something supernatural or like demonic or some sort of like apocalyptic thing is happening here. Then you end up at a church where you find actually church, it might be before that, but either way,
I think the church is after the school, right?
Yeah, after the school, but before the hospital.
Hearing the bells.
Yep. And then you find Dahlia Gillespie, if I'm saying that right, who's just an absolute psycho. She gives you the Floros and tells you that you must use it to defeat the demon before it's too late. And she's extremely vague. I feel like she knows way more than she's letting on.
Yeah.
And but she doesn't really give you much info at all. She's basically like, do this before what's she called? Like the sign of like Raphael or whatever. Samael.
Not Raphael.
Sam. That's it. I made the Raphael joke in my playthrough, and it's stuck in my mind now.
If I can interject, her cutscene is like one of those iconic ones too, where she's standing in front of the cross, and she kind of turns around and does that little like that thing where she kind of wipes her chin on her shoulder. It's just really creepy.
Yeah, it is. It's super creepy. You can tell just by looking at her face. You're like, I'm not gonna like you for the rest of the game. I can see that for sure.
Something creepy is going on.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then something weird happens where you just start to find like newspaper clippings or police articles or reports and like journal entries about a major drug ring, and it's never really like talked about of like who's behind it.
Yeah, right. Weird.
Yeah, but the drug is called PTV, I believe it said, and it's a hallucinogenic drug, and that's basically all you learn about that drug for the most part.
I'd try it.
Yeah, if you put a little bit of things here and there, you'll see like Kaufman has a big story arc with the drug, but it doesn't like, I don't know, I guess it kind of just leaves you up to your own thoughts on what's happening with that.
Yeah, it leaves it up to your interpretation, I guess, because it never says like on paper or anything like that, like who's behind the drug ring and that kind of thing. So you're also slowly introduced to this young girl named Alessa, and it's never really said until kind of the ending who she is. And then like you run back into Sybil like at the amusement park, and she's all infected, and then so this is one of the bigger choices in the game where you can either choose to kill her or save her. And Mike, when you played your like originally, did you?
I killed her.
You killed her, right?
Yeah, because at that point I was like, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, all right, she's attacking me. Her eyes are red, so
she's gonna die.
So I didn't even know that was an option. Number one, I didn't know that was an option. Number two, I didn't know that you could bottle that red liquid that was found in the hospital.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea you could bottle that.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I never did it. It just saw broken liquid on the ground, and the guy's like, and Harry's like, oh, what's this? It looks like somebody did that on purpose. And I'm like, how can you tell? It's just smashed on the ground.
Yeah.
But anyway, so So yeah, I didn't know that you could do that, so I ended up just killing her because I didn't really have a choice anyway. But your choice here impacts the ending actually,
right?
Not greatly because it kind of still happens, but at the end you kind of find out that Dahlia is Alessa's mother, and that she's been trying to basically like sacrifice Alessa in order to summon a demon to Silent Hill, and she tried it about 7 years ago. The process burnt down the house. And Alessa then split her spirit into two, one that stayed in Silent Hill as Alessa, and then the other one left Silent Hill as Cheryl, Harry's adopted daughter that he found on the side of the road.
Oh, he found her on the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Found her on the side of the road, him and his wife.
See, it doesn't like really explain that. Even we're like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And this game has 5 endings. It has a bad ending, it has a bad plus ending, and then it has a good ending, a good plus ending, and then it has a funny ending. Mike, are you aware of the funny ending?
Is the funny ending the one where it's the post-credit scene where they're all kind of like
no, so that happens, I think, regardless.
Oh, it does? Oh no, I didn't know about a funny ending.
So the bad ending, after you defeat everybody or whatever, if you don't save Dr. Kaufman during the game and do his little side quest thing, and if you don't save Sybil, then you get the bad ending, which is basically like Harry died in the car crash, and all this was just basically a dream, right? Yaiser, that's what we got from
getting.
Yeah.
That's the ending you remembered getting, Mike?
Yeah, back when I played it the first time.
Yeah. So then there's like a bad plus ending, which is, I believe it's when you when you saved Sybil. Do you remember which one it is?
I don't
really either. So this one, bad plus is a little bit different than bad. I don't remember the exact ending of it, but then there's good, which is the ending that I got because I didn't save Sybil, but I saved Dr. Kaufman. And so Sybil wasn't there at the very end. And then, but I still got out, still got the baby, which the baby confused me to no end. I was like, is that Cheryl? Because when I beat the game, I didn't know any of this backstory. I had to look it all up. Like I looked up a video. I looked up a couple videos actually of like the backstory behind Silent Hill, and these guys did a great job. But it's just like the fact that I guess I needed that kind of took points away from the story for me. But this is essentially what the story was. And then the good plus ending was if you saved both Dr. Kaufman and Sybil, and then Dr. Kaufman dies either way, which is great because he was a jerk. Lisa comes back from
she
the
like
fiery
pulls him
depths
in,
of hell.
Yeah, just drags him back into hell, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then if you saved Sybil, she gets out with you and admires the baby that you pick up off the floor.
Happily ever after.
Yeah. And then the funny ending is commonplace in all Silent Hill games. Apparently, it's the UFO ending where UFOs come down and they abduct Harry.
Really? I've never even heard of that. I'll have to check that out.
Yep, that's how it happens. Well, so that can only happen on your second playthrough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you play through it a second time, you can go into another building, pick up I forget what the item is called, but you pick up an item, and then you have to use that item at 5 very specific locations.
Wow.
Don't know how anybody figured this out. I'm assuming this is like after the strategy guide came out. It was in the strategy guide. That's how people got to do it. I have no idea how otherwise, because that's crazy.
I have no idea how else you could figure that out.
Yeah, but it's also an ending that's in Silent Hill 2, and the ending in Silent Hill 2, when you do the UFO ending, Harry comes back with the aliens to abduct that character, which I thought was pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I guess that's basically the layout of the story, which, like I said, is pretty insane, and I just tried to describe it as best as I could in just a few minutes.
Yeah, but I didn't know there was so much lore to the series.
There's a
alien
ton.
thing. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. That's
there
crazy.
are novels actually about Silent Hill, and
Wow.
so a lot of this information that was gathered from like the canon novels.
Oh,
What
okay.
came first?
I believe the game came first.
Okay.
And then there was novels written about it and around it.
That's cool. I know there's been some visual novels too that I've heard of. I've never actually experienced, but yeah, they're supposed to be really good.
Yeah, and there's the movie that came out, which I actually really want to watch now because
I liked it. I never understood all the hate that it got. Obviously,
okay, so
its story is all over the place, but it's good if you're into the game.
Is it almost directly based on the game?
No. I mean, it still has the same premise where there's a cult going on and a kid goes missing, but it's really all.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
But the same character names, right? Like Sybil's in it, right?
Yeah, I believe so. It's been since it launched, like back when it came out in theaters, since I've seen it. But I do remember there are specific characters still.
Because I think that they could make it a really good movie series. Like, I don't know. And maybe it is. Like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but
I think this would be like a great like Twin Peaks-ish like kind of like a TV series. That would be really interesting because all the characters are there. They're all really odd, you know.
Oh, for sure. Everybody in this, even Harry's a nut job. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I guess let's start off with you. What'd you give the story out of 5 stars?
Out of 5 stars, I'd give it like 3.5, I would say, and that's just because of the very like odd like nature of the whole. And this is before like lore was a big thing where most people didn't look into backstory of a game before they figured out what the heck was going on with it.
Right.
But yeah, just to your point, I think it loses major points for just not really explaining to the player what's going on and kind of just leaves them like, hey, go do your own work, which I understand. So, you know, that kind of works in some point, but when it's a game like this where the story really pushes you into the end, like, you know, pushes you to keep playing.
Yeah.
I kind of like, you know, knocked a couple of points off for that.
Yeah. There are games that are driven by gameplay. And like I consider like a game like Bayonetta, like that's a game like driven by gameplay in my opinion. Whereas this game is all driven like by story.
Right.
Or at least it's supposed to be. Yaiser, what did you give story?
I also gave it 3.5 stars.
Okay.
Because the story is pretty crazy and wild, but they're like they don't tell you enough of it for me to give it like a higher score than that. They definitely docked it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I feel like I'm normally like that too. I was very close to giving this a 5-star story, and I'm not even kidding. I gave it 4.5. I knocked it a 0.5 star because it didn't do a very good job of explaining the story. But after looking up like, you know, Silent Hill explained videos, I was like, man, the story is so much better than people probably even think it is.
Yeah.
It sucks that you have to do a little bit more research behind it to find, you know, to find out about it. But I don't know. Part of me likes watching like movies like that where you leave the theater thinking like, man, I don't know if I fully comprehended that movie. I kind of want to watch it again to like see if I missed something or something like that. I kind of like movies that make me think that way, and Silent Hill definitely made me think that because I for sure missed a ton of it. Like you guys will see in my playthrough video, at the end of it, I'm just all the credits are rolling. I'm just questioning everything I've done for the past 4 days. So, yeah, I mean, I still gave it a really good score just because I like games that make me think like that. I think that it could have been just extremely boring with very little story, and I think that they went way beyond that. So, yeah, just for how interesting it was overall. I mean, I gave Donkey Kong Country like a 4-star story. So, I mean, that dude just had bananas take, and I had to give this one a little bit more for how intricate it was, right?
Go find Diddy Kong and get those bananas.
Yeah.
Now I get it, but I guess when it comes to like, you know, playing this back in the 90s, the late 90s, you know, obviously there was internet, but you know, players probably weren't looking for the full story on the internet.
Right.
They were probably just discussing with one another, like, you know what happened? No,
No,
you know? But it was badass though.
No,
you know?
Why did she give me a baby at the end? I don't know. Is that baby Cheryl? I have no idea.
Right.
No idea. Yeah, it's really, really hard to tell some of those. It's honestly, it's like some major plot points that they kind of just leave out for you to either interpret yourself or just figure it out, idiot. I don't know, because it's kind of a major flaw, but the story is so good if you look it up that I couldn't give it lower than a 4.5 in my opinion, but I totally get why you guys gave it 3.5s because that's where I was at when I first beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, 3.5 probably, and then I looked up other stuff and I was like, I can't give it lower. Yaiser, you want to kick it off for gameplay?
Gameplay, yeah. So this game was like really good at being like creepy and like making you feel like the creepiness of the game. It was so good at that, but like the controls and the combat were like kind of shitty, I'm gonna say.
I get that.
If I can.
It's the same issue that you had with Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
The tank controls are not your favorite.
They're not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And but even Resident Evil 3, it wasn't as like, I don't know, it wasn't as captivating as this game was. So I think I scored Resident Evil a little lower than this. I gave this 3.5 for gameplay too.
Okay.
Because yeah, it was just like, dude, I the first time I like booted up and played it, I was playing with my headphones and like kind of at like night, kind of in the dark. I only did that night. Like I don't
really?
like being scared of my own house. Like I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna put it on the speakers. I'm gonna have something playing on TV in the background. I don't like being scared of my own goddamn house. But it was it was good at what it was supposed to be good at. But just the controls really kind of knocked it down a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you almost 100% here. I think that for what the controls are supposed to be, they are good tank controls. There's even like a strafe where you can strafe back and forth by holding R1 or L1, and I think that helps out a ton. Unlike games like, and again, bringing back to Medieval, that don't have an auto camera where like you press L2 and it fixates behind the character, and I think that that's very strong for a game of this, like the early like the 3D games like this. I feel like don't ever really do a good job with the whole camera situation. But I had 3.5 for gameplay as well. I get Yaiser's gripes with the kind of the clunky like fighting, like combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To me, it wasn't that big of an issue because the combat was kind of few and far between. A lot of times I found myself, it was more beneficial to run from the monsters than to fight them. So I ended up running from them, which actually added to the scariness of this game, in my opinion.
Because they're right behind you.
Yeah, the entire time, whether you had those pterodactyl things swooping at you, trying to claw at your head, or those dogs, or whatever. You had a lot of things to run from in this game, and I felt like that added to the horror aspect of it. Because you really have to save on your ammunition. So you can't really just, mow down everything you find. I mean, unless you put in the infinite ammo cheat, and there you go. But you know what I mean? So if you're playing this game, no cheats and stuff like that, you really have to conserve on your ammo. So I felt like the running portion was cool. Just being able to, just having to run away from your enemies, I felt like, made it scarier. I like the puzzles in the game. Some of them were super cryptic that I had to just straight up look up the answer because I'm like, I have no idea. I can't figure this out. But then there are other ones that were pretty easy, and then other ones where I'm like, okay, I'm going to need a few minutes here to try and figure this out. I would give myself probably like 15 minutes max to try and figure out a puzzle. And if I had no idea, I'm just like, I'm looking it up because I got to finish this game this week, not next year. But yeah, so I gave it a 3.5. Mike?
I gave it a 4 out of 5, and
nice.
Like I agree with you guys. Yeah, the tank controls are, you got to get used to them, and eventually you do. I gave it a higher score because I really like the map system, even though I was looking at the map probably 60% of the time. Whenever I would open a door and get in a new room, triangle button, let me pull up the map, figure out where the hell I'm at, make a left or a right, and where I'm going. But the cool thing about the map was it would update as you played. So
loved that.
Yeah, that was nice. Awesome.
I was actually gonna. I guess I should have talked about that in gameplay. I was going to talk about that in visuals. That the map updated. No, that.
Yeah, I guess that would kind of mix the two.
It's both. It's both for sure. Yeah. But I think
I love like if a door was locked, it would show an X on the door, or even if you found something in a room that you couldn't get yet, it would actually like put a notation on the map like, hey, there's a statue hand here, and you're like, oh yeah, shit, I remembered that.
It even told you the difference between a door that would never open with like scribbles or the door
Yep.
that was locked with like a straight red line, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. But
Yeah.
like I said, I was looking at the map most of the time because of the tank controls where you're kind of disoriented whenever you enter a room, and you could either be looking at the camera or you can be looking away from the camera. You're like, all right, where do I need to go here?
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like the Friday the 13th map on the NES. You kind of just like have to keep looking at it, figure out where you're going when you're walking.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times, real quick, I don't know how many times I apologized to the camera for pulling up my map so many times in a row. I pulled up my map and I'm like, I go into a door and then I come back out and I'm like, wait, did I just come from the left or the right? I have to check my map again. And I'm like, sorry guys. Like,
that's why I would have
gonna edit all that out. But.
Yeah, I would have trouble making a gameplay of this game in particular because I'd just be like, here's a map again. Here's a map again. All right, sorry guys, you're gonna have to just keep looking at this map. But
yeah, exactly.
I did the same thing, and then I fucking screwed myself. I forgot to get. Well, I missed the second map, the second like town map in the
really
the drawbridge tower, I guess. So once I killed in the mall there, the worm boss.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea where the fuck I was supposed to go.
Damn, yeah, you need a map. Like you need it to get through it.
Yeah, I found a video of this English girl. I wish I remembered her name. I would shout her out, but she pulled up her map for like a second. I paused her video on that map so I can be like, okay, I'm right here. I went to street signs. I found a corner with street signs. I'm like, okay,
that's
I'm
awesome.
at this corner. I got to go to the hospital down over here. And I figured it out that way.
That's a rough one to not have a map for too.
You need it.
That was brutal.
It took me forever, and I have no idea why, to find the map in the school. So I went through the first 2 floors, no map, and then I went back, and I'm like, it has to be in reception, right? Why would it be anywhere else?
Where else would they put a map?
And it's right in like the like when you first walk in, like that first corridor there. Yeah, that's where it is, and I'm just like, man, how did I just walk past this thing? I spent like an hour and a half in this school just wandering around like an idiot. And then I also didn't find the map for the sewers, which was super annoying.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I found that like right away, luckily.
Yeah.
Yeah. But real quick, the only other, a knockdown of the gameplay was just the, sometimes I feel like I wouldn't use the gun very often at all. I'd always use the pipe. And it seemed like you had to like wait for a specific frame to start swinging it for it to hit. Mm-hmm. And even so, if there was another enemy coming up, they would always grab onto me. Like almost, I was almost guaranteed to get a little bit of health taken away with almost every encounter that had more than one enemy. And maybe the game was supposed to be like that. You know, they might have designed it that way.
I felt the exact same way, which is why I hated using anything but the gun. But again, you have to conserve bullets in this game. I actually got to the Sybil fight, and I did not have enough bullets to kill her.
Oh, that's why you were having all the trouble with it then.
So what had happened was I ended up putting in the infinite ammo like for that fight. Just because I'm like, I'm not restarting this game.
Do.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not restarting this game at this point. I got so far. I'm not restarting
it.
Back
at that point either, right?
Yeah. No. Every time I would hit continue, it would start and Sybil's in my face. Oh, so I was like, I was stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Design.
Mike, do you want to get us started off with visuals?
Yeah, sure. Visuals. I mean, I gave them 4 out of 5. Now that I think about it, I should have probably did 4.5. But I mean, I respect what they did with the fog. They were using that in order to excuse me, in order to like kind of cover up what they couldn't show you just because of the limitations that they had with the hardware. But even the inside of areas like the school and the hospital and well, not the sewers. The sewers kind of didn't look that impressive, but the schools looked awesome. Like, I mean, you can walk up on the boards and kind of see like drawing, kids' drawings, and like there was one of a wolf, and there's like a picture of the map United States and stuff like that. And I thought that was really interesting. And of course, the underworld, or I'm not sure the correct term. What was the other world you go into?
So he kind of kept saying it was the other world.
Otherworld, that's it.
But then a lot of people kept calling it, like, I guess a lot of people in the community, I guess, call it like the dark world, kind of like the Zelda thing, like where they call it dark world.
That
or
makes
whatever.
Sense.
So there's that, and then there's a couple Stranger Things fans that were calling it
Upside Down?
the Upside
Upside
Down.
Down.
Yeah,
I was thinking that as
thinking
I was
of the
playing it.
Upside Down.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But I love the visuals in that world. Everything just looks like rusty and wet and just decrepit, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I thought I don't know why. I guess because I'm a wrestling fan, but I just kept thinking whenever it was in that world, I'm like, I love how this whole game now is just being played in a Hell in the Cell. Because like you're just running around on like the fence,
just
right.
cages and fences.
Yeah. I also gave visuals a 4. I originally was thinking, man, the character models in this game look rough compared to Resident Evil 3, but the overall, like, the environment bumps it up so much for just being so incredibly creepy that I couldn't give it anything lower than a 4. I didn't think. And like I said, I was originally going to give it pretty low, just because I was not impressed with the character models at all. The cutscenes look great though. I do think that the monsters had enough like creativity where they were all, I mean, unless you ran into multiple like nurses and stuff like that, like any of the monsters were pretty different from each other, and I thought that was cool. I thought all the boss fights, like I thought all the bosses looked cool. And I really appreciated the attention to detail when in the worlds, like Mike, like what you were saying with the the drawings and stuff like that, all like just like the blood stains on the floor, and just like it never felt like, I don't know, it never felt like the environments were really just like thrown together. Like it felt like every area was like really like meticulously like combed over during the production of it. I will say though, one thing that annoyed me slightly is in this game, it's sometimes hard to find a door because it matches the walls. So sometimes I'm like, is there another door in here? That was one thing that kind of annoyed me. But one thing I absolutely loved about this game, and I don't feel like enough games do this, is it didn't have a HUD. And I think that makes it more immersive. Not having a HUD on it makes it feel less like a game.
Yeah, more like a movie.
Yeah, it just felt like you're in the game more like that with no HUD. Yaiser, where are you at with visuals?
Okay. I think I felt a little bit differently than you guys did.
Yeah, that's fine.
I gave it 2 stars.
Oof. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think I don't like the cop out of like the snowstorm or whatever. Like I can't see 10 feet in front of me because
the fog.
It's snowy or it's fog or whatever. I didn't know. It's a cop out for me. And I mean I get that maybe this is not capable for the console, I guess, maybe to show more graphic distance, I guess, but I don't know. And I thought in the underworld or the Upside Down or the dark world, whatever you want to call it, everything kind of looked the same.
Yeah,
everything all just like blended together and looked the same for me. And like you said, the character models were kind of terrible.
Yeah, I thought the human character models were bad. Yeah,
pretty awful.
Yeah, those were bad.
The cutscenes were okay, but like there's some other PS1 games that had some better like cinematic cutscenes.
I mean, the medieval one had a really good cinematic cutscene.
Yeah, and like all the Final Fantasies 7, 8, 9, those were all fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it visually, I guess, as you guys were. So
yeah, no,
I think I totally. Yeah, I could definitely see your points where certain things did look, the same. But as far as cutscenes go, I do want to bring up the one cutscene where Lisa, when Harry walks in on her, and then she starts like bleeding from her forehead, and then just out of her ears and nose. That like still creeps me out to this day.
Yeah, when I was playing through it, it literally like gave me shivers down my spine.
Yeah, it's just so disgusting.
Yep. I think they did a really good job on that. I wish more of the cutscenes were like that, because there were some cutscenes that were like gameplay quality. Yeah. And I was like, man, this could have hit so much harder if it was actual like cinematic.
And unfortunately I didn't get to that point either.
No, but I did show you the video.
Yeah, I saw it on there, but
looks pretty cool. But like when you're not immersed in it. So for this game, when we played through Resident Evil 3, it did scare me. It's different though. It's a different type of scare because In Resident Evil 3, the scaring all comes from jump scares. It's all like, can I startle you from this, instant noise and visual.
Nemesis got me one time, jumped through the window.
Yeah.
Just walking around this game creeped me the fuck out.
Yeah, it's scary the whole time. Scary the whole time.
More psychological.
Yeah,
100%. And we can get. I guess we'll be slowly getting into sound here, but I was curious, what were your, I guess, least favorite enemies to go against? Because for me, it was those little things with the knives.
The little stabby boys.
Yeah, I hated those guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
For me, it was the damn roaches. Like those damn things, when they could take a beating.
Yeah.
I was when you're shooting your gun, your guy, like Harry doesn't aim down. He like aims forward. So you don't know if you're actually aiming at the roach or what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
eventually you'll see some splatter and be like, all right, cool, I'm hitting it.
Oh, that actually, I wanted to bring that up. So I'm glad that you did. In the Silent Hill manual, it actually says, hold on, I want to pull it up here. Under controls, it says, like, under gun, I guess, it says, since the character is a normal person with no special training in shooting a gun, his skill with it is very marginal. Even in daylight or with the light on, his accuracy with the weapon is questionable and is certainly dependent on the distance. Try to let the enemies come close to you for a sure hit. And I thought that was kind of interesting that they didn't make him good with a gun, because I felt that. I felt like he was a very non-capable hero in this game.
Yeah, I did miss a lot of shots.
Yeah, you miss a lot of shots, and you also, you miss a lot of shots, and he also is like, there was the very beginning of the game where you go to that doghouse and you get into that house. I was leaving that house and I just jumped off the side of the porch and my dude just fell. Like, he fell. I'm like, you couldn't survive that.
Really?
Yeah, he falls to the ground, and I'm like, come on, Harry, get up, you idiot.
So I thought because he fell off the porch, I thought, like, where the roads are like cut off, and like, I thought I could fall off of that shit.
You can't.
You can't.
Yeah, there's no fall damage in this game, which is great.
Thank God.
Yeah, so I mean that I guess was a little bit more about the gameplay of it, but you did remind me of it there. What was I gonna say? Oh, so I guess we can just get right into sound. I'll start off with sound because I don't think I've started one off yet. Maybe I did, I don't know. But I'll start off with sound. I gave it a 4.5. I felt like it was very, very good. I want to go back and I want to correct my Nemesis score, because I think that our guest at the time, DMC, he made a really good point that it's not always about, the amount of music in a game, whatever. It's what the game needs for, like, the ambiance it wants to create. And I didn't give it a great score. I want to go back and probably redo that one. But this game does a phenomenal job of absolutely scaring you with just sounds. And if you play this game with headphones on and in the dark, like I did, you were scared in your own house. 100%. Mike, you brought up that cutscene with Lisa where her face starts bleeding, and Harry kind of pushes her away and runs out of the door, and then holds the door shut with his arms out wide.
Right.
And she knocks on the door, and it scared the absolute crap out of me, because of with headphones on, I thought that was the door 3 feet away from me. And it absolutely terrified me. And there are a bunch of parts like that. The little see-through baby ghost,
those are the worst.
They squeak. They just walk around and they squeak.
Weird.
Yeah.
So creepy.
I wanted to bring this up when you said, what's your least favorite enemy to fight?
Oh, go ahead.
And I wanted to say, not my least favorite enemy to fight, but my least favorite thing in that game are those little fucking ghost things.
Yeah.
That just make noise.
Yep.
They scared the living shit out of me, dude.
Later, when you get to nowhere, they will attack you.
Oh, they do?
Yep, they do eventually attack you.
Oh, Jesus.
But yeah, they're super creepy. There's a part where you go into a bathroom and you just hear a child crying, and I don't like that.
Terrifying.
That's awful.
Yeah, I walked into this one room, I think it was maybe in the hospital, just an empty room. You walk in and all of a sudden just loud, like, glass shatter.
Yep.
It's like, what? They made that room just to scare you.
That happens, quite a bit. There's another point in the game where you go into a kitchen, I believe it is, and you look at a refrigerator that has a dagger stabbed in it. And I believe this is in Nowhere when this happens. And so you look at it and you're like, oh, there's a chain, it's broken. And I'm like, okay, broken chain, whatever. It's like, do you want to take the dagger out of the fridge? I'm like, of course I want the dagger. So I take it. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take a ring that you picked up in the room previous to that and attach the chain together. How would you know that if you if you know what I mean? So so what happens if you don't do that is the big octopus monster that you have to give blood earlier.
Yeah, it's like sticking out and
that thing.
Yep, that thing comes out of the bottom of the refrigerator thing and just grabs your feet and drags you and you die.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, it ends pretty quickly for you. Yeah. Yeah, so trial and error there. I went back and fixed the ring and then grabbed the dagger, which was dope.
There you go.
But yeah, that part scared the crap out of me because it doesn't do it immediately. You grab the dagger, you turn around, you start walking back towards the door, and then you just hear a big bang, and then the thing grabs you, and yeah. But the sound absolutely killed it for me in this game. It's what made the game so good. It's what made the game so immersive for me. Super scary. 4.5. Mike?
Yeah, I gave the sound a 4. I love the whole static radio thing. Like when you're close to enemies, the radio will start playing static, and the closer you get, the louder it gets. And it's also a good visual cue for when you're entering a room and the camera is fixated on you. But as soon as you hear that static, you're on alert. Like, okay, even though you can't see an enemy because of the camera, you at least know to prep yourself and you know what's coming.
They're there.
Yeah, the music is really cool. It is very slow and like it builds up in most parts. One thing I disliked about the music is certain areas. You would walk into a door and the music would just start playing. It was just like very dooming, like doom, doom, doom.
Yep.
And then as soon as you would walk out the door, that music would stop. But as soon as you walked in, that music would just start again. It was just like kind of just took you out of it. Like, all right, yeah, here's gonna be this room where this music got to play. I'm just gonna run through, and it's only gonna play for 2 seconds, type of thing.
It would kind of have been nice if it made it kind of like muffled, right? If you got near the door, like if it was muffled, and then when you walked in, then it was a more
like a build up type of thing. Especially when you're just running through an area and you're just going to be in that room for like less than 2 seconds. You got to hear this loud booming music. And a lot of the times the music really had no purpose. Like you would walk into an area and that music was there for like a character, or not a character, an enemy. But once you killed that enemy, you figured the music would stop. It would just keep playing whenever you entered that room, which was kind of off-putting.
Yeah.
Footsteps, just like all the other games in this era, they do get annoying after a while. Especially like Yaiser said, in the underworld, you just constantly hear that clink, 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 like over and over again. That gets old. But I mean, other than that, like the enemy sounds are cool, like the squish when you're shooting stuff, and like the moans of the little enemies with the knives and stuff like that. You know, I thought they did really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yaiser?
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I gave it 4 stars.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know what else I can say that you guys didn't just say, but when I didn't have the map and I was running around aimlessly in like the second part of the city, that when it was like in the underworld, all the chains and shit, and it was playing that like intense, like I thought there was a boss, like it sounded like intense like boss music coming, but
yeah, you're like, all right, there,
like,
prepping,
like what the fuck, what's coming? So there's gotta be something coming, right?
Sometimes it would build like that and then nothing would happen.
Nothing ever happened.
It's almost like it was like it was prepping you for like, okay, a jump scare's coming, get ready, a jump scare, and then it wouldn't happen. And then you'd go into a quiet room, like Yaiser was saying, you go into an absolutely quiet room, and then you're like, there's nothing in here, and then you just turn around, get to the door, and big loud noise scares the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Was something supposed to be there, or was that like a design choice to get you off of your, comfortable, level? But I don't know.
I think they were just trying to fuck you up.
Yeah, maybe. If they were, hey man, it's it would on them, because it kind of messed me up a little bit. So
they did a great job
for sure. I did want to add a couple more things to sound. Voice acting, I thought was actually pretty good in this game.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was like overly cheesy, although there were a couple parts, But for the most part, I'd say for a 1990s PS1 game, I felt like it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I think the voice actors did a great job, but like the way they cut the conversations together, it just felt like two separate people talking at one, and they cut the lines together.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, the 90s PS1
game. Right. Anything else to add about sound before we go to aged? I think we touched on it all, right?
I think we got it all.
All right. Yaiser, kick aged off, buddy.
Aged, I give it, and I'm docking it points solely, I think, on controls alone.
Okay.
But I'm still, I think 3.5 stars. I think it's still a pretty solid score.
Okay.
Because it did its job, man. It scared the shit out of you, and that's like the whole point of the game, right?
Right. I mean, I thought
to be creepy and scary, and it did it. But like, it was hard sometimes with the shitty controls.
I get that.
So I docked it a little bit.
I also gave it a 3.5. Partially because of the tank controls. I just don't think it's something that you would find in a modern game today. Most even like survival horrors, like all the Resident Evils haven't gone back to the tank controls, right? So and a lot of, like, from what I've heard, a lot of like the Resident Evil like purists out there, like, if it doesn't have tank controls, it's not Resident Evil. So there are people out there that prefer that. I'm not one of them. I like
me either.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the tank controls. It just feels clunky in nature. It feels like it's clunky for no reason a lot of the times. The visuals, I think, took away from the aged to me. But otherwise, man, like Yaiser said, this game does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it scares the absolute crap out of you. The story is interesting enough that it keeps you hooked to keep playing it. And it does a great job of, which I think a lot of these games suffer from, what am I supposed to do next? And this game doesn't really, because I think from what Mike brought up, the map system's fantastic, where it updates the map and it tells you, it kind of gives you hints on where you're supposed to go. That is, if you're able to find one. So there are those issues at some points where you can't find a map. But yeah, I think this game just does exactly what it's supposed to do. I just had to dock it for tank controls and had to dock it again for the pretty bad character models. Mike?
Yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really like the map system. I thought that was kind of I don't know if revolutionary is the word for that, because I don't know if a game did that before this game. I'm sure something did. They probably just improved upon it. But even today, that would be a great thing to have in some of the games that are, I mean, I think the newest Resident Evil game still uses that. So I'm wondering if Silent Hill maybe started that trend. But I think that's awesome. But yeah, as far as docking it, that one point, the story, I kind of wish you didn't have to look too much into it, especially a game like this where it's an action game that relies heavily on its story.
Yeah.
I think they should have explained it better. As the gameplay definitely bumps that score up, because I mean, I get the tank control thing, but I guess maybe since I got the first Resident Evil game and I kind of just dealt with it and got used to it over the years, maybe it doesn't affect me that much. But I understand why people don't like it. But yeah, I thought the controls are pretty good, except for the whole thing where you couldn't really time your swings correctly when an enemy is coming to you. But yeah, I mean, as a guy who doesn't review games on age very well, because I was told not to do that by Pat, it's interesting reviewing a game on that, because I do think this one aged really well.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, like, when you're looking through all the Super Nintendo games, you're kind of comparing it to other Super Nintendo games, right? So it wouldn't really make sense to grade it on age in that aspect. But since we're doing tons of different retro games from tons of different systems, it's kind of fun to go back and look and see how a game holds up.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about this.
I prefer to review a game on how it's aged, but You know, some people don't like that, but I enjoy that because it's fun going back and seeing like, hey, could I still play this and will it still be, you know, fun today? You know?
Yeah, for sure, right? Because when you're playing retro games, it's like you kind of go back to the ones that still hold up. You don't go back to them and play the ones that don't hold up. So I think it's an important category too.
Unless we're forced to, right?
Unless we're forced to play Superman 64 because that's what our patrons want. Yeah, it's really up to them. But yeah, so I think overall the game aged pretty well here. I do have our total scores. Yaiser, you were the lowest at 3.3.
Okay.
Mike, you were in the middle at 3.9, and I gave it an even 4.
Wow.
Second game in a row.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I'm at 80% out of 100. Mike is at 78%, and Yaiser is at 66%. So you just barely passed, buddy. Well, I guess Silent Hill just barely passed. 65% in my high school. I don't know about everybody else's.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair overall score. I mean, from everyone, you know.
Yeah, overall score from everybody was a 75%.
Yeah,
so
that's
fair.
I'd say that's pretty dead on.
Yeah, not too bad, right? So looking up how this, like the reviews that this game got when it came out, IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, so a 90%. They loved it. And I believe, I want to say like most fan reviews are around the 89% range. So it's really like a PS1 like classic. Like it's one of the better. It's continuously like talked about as like one of the better PS1 games. It's in a lot of like top 10, top 20 like PS1 lists. So it's definitely in that classic area. I think for the PS1.
Really, it only really fell short for me with. I think visuals? A lot of these PS1 games are gonna fall short for me on visuals.
Yeah, I mean, if you bump the visuals up like to where we were at, then it wasn't looking so bad for you, buddy.
Yeah, I can't.
I get it.
I can't go.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. Yeah,
you have different preferences. It's fine, buddy. So this is the kind of the part of the show where we randomize our next game. And actually, I lied to you guys. We have to tell people if we want to relive this game or not. So Mike, I'm going to start it with you. If somebody asked you today, whatever year it is, 2022, is that where we're at? Okay.
I think so.
2022. Somebody asked you, hey Mike, I've never played Silent Hill. I've heard good things. Should I go out, get the game, and play it? What would you say?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're into that type of survival horror game, you're gonna have to experience the stuff that started the genre. So I mean, besides Resident Evil's, the first Silent Hill is a very strong base for that genre. So yeah, I would say you have to play it.
Yeah. Yaiser?
I would say so. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I wasn't sure how you were going to feel about it because of like the controls and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, as far as horror games go, dude, this is the scariest one. The creepiest one I've ever played. So
for sure. Yeah, this is much more of a psychological like horror thriller, I guess. More. Mike, have you ever played Alan Wake?
Oh yeah, several times. I love Alan Wake.
It's so good. Yeah, it reminds me kind of more of that than the Resident Evil, there's zombies coming at us kind of deal.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I would definitely say relive this game for sure. Is it worth the $100 price tag? That might be a different question. Kind of depends on crazy. Where you're at in your like. Do you collect games? If you collect games, then it's worth $100 price tag to have in your collection or whatever. I don't know that I'd pay $100 just to play through it once. But there aren't many games that I would pay $100 just to play through it once. I mean,
no, I tossed this one on the PlayStation Classic and it played beautifully on that.
Nice. Oh, so cool. It's not normally on there, right? I don't have that
console. Oh no, not yeah. You'd have to get a USB stick and pop it in.
Yeah, I did that with my Super Nintendo Classic, where I just threw a ton of SNES games on there. But I was considering getting the PS1 Classic. It's probably good, right?
Oh yeah, it's awesome, especially for emulating. It's perfect.
Cool. Yeah, I did emulate this one, but I just used DuckStation. I don't know if you've ever heard of that emulator or not. But yeah, and Yaiser emulated as well. But now is the time where we randomize a game. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to hit a randomizer. Mike, I'm going to give you a few minutes to think of a recommendation. I get a recommendation from all of our guests to add to our master list. So we're going to hit the randomizer. I'll hit the randomizer, and then I will announce the next game, and then we'll get your recommendation.
Okay, cool. What console up to? PlayStation era or?
I think it's Gen 7. So the PS3, Wii, and Xbox 360. I think pre-HD. So the PS2 gen is our last gen that we play.
Okay. Yep.
All right, here we go with the sound. All right, so
what do we got?
This is a pretty fun part of the show, I think. I like this part because
me too.
Because Yaiser doesn't know the game. I know the game. And obviously, Mike, our guest, does not know the game. So I like to describe the game semi-vaguely to see if the guest can guess the game. And this is what we have. We have another Konami title made in 1991. Ooh. And it is a side-scrolling beat-em-up for the Super Nintendo.
91.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Ninja Turtles?
He got it, dude. Turtles in Time.
Fuck yes,
nice.
Dude.
Oh, you guys are gonna have a good time with that one. That's awesome.
Hell yeah! I've been waiting for this game to come along.
Yes. And our guest next week will be Retro Game Brews. So check him out on Twitter.
Oh, awesome! I love those guys on Twitter.
Yeah. And so we're gonna be playing Turtles in Time. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Mike, what is your recommendation?
If it's not already on your list, I'm going to recommend Blood Omen Legacy of Kain.
Oh, it's not on the list, actually.
Oh, awesome. That's one of my favorite games.
Now, that was multi-platform, correct?
That one was only PlayStation 1, but nowadays you can get it on like PSP, Steam. I emulate it on my PlayStation Classic.
Oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll add that one. And
have fun with those loading times.
I was gonna say, would you mind kind of briefly describing that game for those that don't know
it? Sure. It's an RPG, but it does take a while to play through, but you'll get the gist of it within the first few hours of what the whole premise is and the gameplay. But you start off as like a nobleman named Kain who gets slain by these villagers, and you are given the opportunity to come back to life as a vampire to get revenge. But of course, it's not that easy. You do come back as a vampire, but there's a whole thing going on with like the different realms and these vampires who are fighting each other and all that stuff. But it's like a good vampire story. It's very dark, and the music is beautiful. Probably the best voice acting in any game I've ever played.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Awesome. Is this related to Soul Reaver?
Yes, it is. It's the first game in the Soul Reaver series, I guess you would say, the Soul series.
Yeah, I've played Soul Reaver before, and that was the one. Maybe that one was multi-platform that I was thinking of, because I thought that game came out for the PS1 and like the Dreamcast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, Soul Reaver is the sequel to Blood Omen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, shit.
Nice. Yeah, I thought that there might be some sort of correlation there. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys want your games played, you can just ask us in the YouTube comments. You can just put them right down in the comments and say, yo, play this game, and we'll add it to our master list if it's not already there. However, if you would like it played a little bit quicker than us getting to it in the master list, you can join us on Patreon, because that list is much, much smaller. And when I say much smaller, I mean it's got like a handful of games on there. So the chances of that randomly being selected is going to be way higher than through our master list, which, there's a ton of games on.
Hundreds.
Yeah. Also, we are doing a giveaway for the end of this season. So if you are a patron, you are automatically entered into the giveaway. And we're giving away one of the games that we've played so far this season. So we're ging that away at the end of the
yeah. There's some pretty valuable games up here.
Yes. Yeah, so we have Link to the Past. What did we play episode 2? Don't remember. But we have Link to the Past. We have Super Mario Land 2. We have Silent Hill, Resident Evil Nemesis. Some pretty amazing games. And like I said,
Yeah, those are all awesome.
Pretty valuable too.
Oh, Resident Evil 3 was number 2.
Oh, so I don't know what number. Oh, number 4 was Yu-Gi-Oh. We just played that one.
Oh,
that was the one I forgot. Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses. Yeah. Mike, have you ever played that game?
No, I'm not too familiar with the series.
Yeah, that game is dope. Even if you don't like Yu-Gi-Oh, I feel like you could probably get into it because it has nothing to do with the card game whatsoever. But anyway,
kind of.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah. So if you wanna do that, go ahead and join the Patreon. It's $5 a month to help support the channel. And like I said, we it's basically game review requests on there. Anything else you'd like to add, Mike?
No, I think we covered everything pretty well. Yeah, it was an awesome show.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and tell people where they can find you again?
Sure. Yeah. Anybody can find me on Twitter. I'm at Very Evil Ash, and my daughter just set me up with a TikTok. I think it's the same. I have no idea.
Cool.
But yeah, mainly Twitter's my only platform that I'm really on all the time.
Cool.
Yeah, and you guys can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. I mostly do the Twitter stuff as well. We're on Instagram a little bit here and there, and we post some videos on TikTok. Our TikTok videos are basically like what we've picked up at like garage sales and that kind of thing. So if you want to know what we're picking up for like our collection and stuff, check out our TikTok for that.
Pick up the book.
Yeah, pick up the Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the SNES Library book. And then
that and the upcoming N64 Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the N64 Library.
Awesome. Do you know roughly when that's coming out? You said you weren't sure, right?
I finished my writing months ago, but Pat just contacted me this week. I have to fix one of my Duke Nukem 64 reviews. There's some questionable stuff in that, so there's still edits happening.
Gotcha.
And we don't have the same editor this time either, so it's kind of like I guess a little bit slower than it usually was with this.
Gotcha. Right. That book's got to be much smaller, right? Because the library.
Yeah, there's not many.
Smaller.
Right. Yep. And this time I'm only reviewing I think 17 games versus the 80 I had with the Super Nintendo, so it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Pat won't skimp on anything. It's gonna be a big, thick book full of all kinds of interesting stuff. So
cool. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Had a great time talking Silent Hill with you.
I had a lot of fun.
For sure.
Cool.
And like I said, guys, definitely go check out Mike on Twitter. He posts some awesome, like short little edited game clips on there. They're a lot of fun to check out.
Thank you.
So everybody, take care. We will be playing Turtles in Time next week with a brand new guest. So check us out next week, and I'll see you guys later.
Peace.